Good afternoon and welcome to the March 6th regular meeting of council. The city of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. We have a consent agenda in front of us here for minutes of the public hearing held February 13th, 2023, the minutes of the special council meeting held February 21, the minutes of the council meeting held February 22, 23. Could I have approval for that consent agenda at this time? I have a mover and a seconder by Councillor Wood and seconded by Councillor Beil. All those in favor? Item D that was in the consent agenda was approval of the council meeting agenda. I would like to address at this time, we have one amendment to this afternoon's agenda. The applicant for item 4B has asked that this item be removed, be actually withdrawn from consideration on this afternoon's agenda. Everybody familiar with 4B? Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder to remove that from the agenda? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Beil. All those in favor? So moved. Thank you. Delegations. We have delegations today. We have one delegation today from BGC, Boys Girls Club, Central Vancouver Island. Update on Parksville Child and Family Center. We'll have a presentation from Ms. K. Love and A. Legge of BGC Central Vancouver Island to update council on the current status and success of the programs at the Parksville Child and Family Center. You have 10 minutes for the presentation. Thank you. And I hope I came close with the Legge. Is that?
But it's okay. It
Legge.
happens every day.
It is Legge.
Yep,
My apologies
no problem.
from Ms. Legge. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. I know the last time we presented, it was a somewhat different council, so I thought what I'd start off today was just a very brief overview of what we do at BGC Central Vancouver Island, so you know who we are and what we do. So the first screen you'll see, this is the core values that we operate with in all of our programs. We operate under belonging, respect, encouragement and support, working together and speaking out. And these are the values that are held by all 75 BGCs across Canada. Next slide. Oh, it's working. So we always work under our short-term, mid-term and adult outcomes. Our organisation makes sure that every child, youth and family has the best start and the best opportunities possible. And that was really the mandate that we brought to Parksville, because we know that childcare was certainly a concern throughout the whole of Central Vancouver Island. And we wanted to make sure that we were offering a very strong research-based programme here in Parksville. So the common features that we have short-term outcomes that we have for all of our programs, mid-term outcomes, and then we also look at those outcomes from the children as they go into adulthood, because it's very important to make sure that we're following children all the way through. So the importance of early childhood for the Parksville area, the Early Development Instrument, which is run by the school districts, collected information from children as they enter kindergarten. And what they found in Parksville when we first reported a year ago is that 40% of the children here in Parksville are vulnerable on more than one scale, with the highest being 23%. So what that says is there's a vulnerability on the physical health and well-being domains of the children who are attending school in Parksville. And that was very clear why we wanted to actually run programs in the area. So our core programming areas, what we do for your residents of Parksville, those little ones, we offer physical literacy and nutrition, educational opportunities, social and life skills, and financial literacy and creative arts. So overall, that's what we tend to do as an organisation. The programs that we offer throughout, stop now. The programs that we offer throughout Central Vancouver Island in general are childcare programs. So they operate from 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and they operate from Ladysmith all the way up to Comox Valley. We have BGC youth programs for those younger youth, ages 10 to 12, from 2:30 to 6:30, Monday to Friday, under our licensed programs. We also offer youth programs for those ages 12 and plus, from 6:30 to 8:30, 2 to 3 nights per week. We offer parent programs, and we also offer spring break camps, summer camps, winter break camps, and service days for school district 69 in the area. So what do BGC get from being part of BGC Canada? We are curriculum based. We have access to a number of youth programs that we really want to bring into the Parksville area that can actually supplement our childcare. We do find as an organisation, we've done this role for 50 years now, we find that dropout age for young kids from our programmes and many out of school care programmes is about 11 years plus. So we know that once you start to lose those kids, that's when they start to get involved in other behaviours that are maybe not conducive to having a good future. So we divide our programme areas into active healthy living, leadership, learning development, and youth engagement. So let's go on to Parksville and how our amazing new centre is going. Just a reminder and a thank you to Council for supporting us to bring this service, which was very needed. You will never have enough childcare providers in any city or town on Vancouver Island. So thank you again for allowing BGC to bring our expertise to the area. So the grant agreement that we have with the City of Parksville is that we should provide 12 spaces for age under 36 months. We currently have filled 5 of those spaces, and we opened our programme in September of last year. So between September and now, we have filled 5 of those spaces. The second part of the grant was 25 aged 30 months to school age. At this point, we're providing 29 of those. And the reason for that is we've actually made a change to how we're providing the programming by combining some ages together. So you're probably wondering, how can you provide more than what we asked for? It's just because we've actually combined the ages. And then the grant agreement also specified that we should provide 54 school-aged spots, so that's ages 5 to 12. And out of those, we are now offering 22 school-aged programs. We started off doing our early years program first, and we're now working on our school care. One of the challenges was not having transportation and also not having a qualified driver to drive that transportation. So again, we now have 2 amazing buses, as you've probably seen sitting outside the centre. Thank you to the City of Parksville. And we also have a driver who can now drive those kids, not just during school time, but when it comes to PD programming, summer programming, Christmas programming, we give children opportunities outside of the centre. So why have we not met our requirements right now? Staffing. The staffing in Parksville, as well as all the other locations that we operate in, it continues to be a challenge, and it really impacts our ability to provide programming. Across BC, there is a huge lack of early childhood educators. So as you may have known from the government, they have put out, all sorts of funding supports to try and get us to hire early child educators, but they're not lining up to get jobs right now, which is quite sad to see. So we're really trying to take our internal staff and actually grow them to be early childhood educators, because we don't want to just, keep swapping staff from childcare provider to childcare provider, because that defeats the purpose. It doesn't provide more spaces. So that's the only reason why we have not met our fulfillment of spaces right now. Over the next coming months, they are definitely increasing because we have managed to hire a few more staff. But when we will be completing the full grant agreement, we don't have a timeline on that. It's all down to the staffing that we can hire. So for those of you who haven't been to our centre, Parksville Community Centre, you'll see we now have our logos on the outside. Our motto is opportunity changes everything. And I think that's what Council has to understand from bringing us in. You have given the opportunity for many children to come to our centre and actually have a better opportunity. And that will include our youth programs that we're running right now. So we have a Gen Q program running right now, which is for the LGBTQ2+ community. And we also have a PG program, which is a program for those who identify as female. The only reason we run those 2, again, it's down to staffing, but we have another 3 programs, all with a mental health focus and a drug awareness focus that we do want to bring to Parksville. So we're also renting out the centre right now, which I know was a huge thing that we wanted to make sure that we could provide the residents of Parksville. So I think I've actually skipped ahead.
Oh,
Sorry,
no,
Ali, I've
no,
skipped ahead. So right now we rent out our gym space from Monday to Friday to the RDN. SD69, we work with the school district there on their cooking programme and their leadership. We also work with the worship group, and North Island College has just brought out a new chefs programme, and they have booked our space to help give young adults the opportunity to qualify as a chef. The space is available for rent on weekends. It's been fairly infrequent right now, and that's what we're really looking to increase next year, because we have a huge fundraising target to run this building. Because we do want residents to know that we have not looked towards the city for any additional funding. I know that was always a concern from residents, and we wanted to make it clear that we do have a fundraising target for the centre. So I think that is, we're just going to finish with a video to let you see why we do what we do and why you do what you do.
Oh, if I can find the button.
So that's the centre at Parksville Community Centre, and we will welcome visits from any member of council if you want to come and see the programme and see the impact that you're having on the residents of your lovely city. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Yeah, that last little video was quite great. I gotta say, I'm very impressed. I just want to make a comment as well. You answered one of my questions that was not necessarily going to be for you, where the chef program for the North Island College is actually, you've implemented that at your center. And I'm very appreciative for that anyways, because we were glad to see them announcing that they wanted to have that in our area. And so thank you for making those considerations for them, as well as the other rentals of the center as well. I know through the week, Monday through Friday, it's very difficult to get a parking spot out in that area because everyone is in your center there, probably playing pickleball.
Yeah.
But anyways, and so thank you for that. I know that they're very thrilled with being given that opportunity in Parksville. So thank you for that. We'll put it open to questions to council. Councillor Wood.
Thank you so much through the chair. Thank you so much for your presentation. I notice on the chalkboards outside at the fenced in area that you guys have had to put, please don't walk your dogs in these areas. Obviously the dogs do their business in there as well. I just wanted to kind of go on record in a public meeting, enforcing that it's for kids. It's not for walking your dogs inside that fence area where the kids play. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Councillor Frass.
Thank you, Mayor, and through the mayor to our delegation. Thanks, Karen and Ali, for coming in to present to us. It's great to see the progress that's taking place. I'm sorry to hear about the staffing challenges. I know everywhere pretty well is challenged with that. I don't know anywhere that's at max staff levels right now. And hopefully that can be sorted out so that we can fill those spaces. But I think you guys are doing a fantastic job there as well. Like you mentioned, change the age groupings to maximize what you guys are able to get out of it. The center itself has been wonderful. I had a chance to rent it out there last fall as well, and the process and all the help with it was phenomenal. It's such a great space. So give you guys a huge kudos for that. I look forward to when there can be more large community events there as well. You mentioned with that you have an annual fundraising target. I'm curious to know what your fundraising target is.
I believe for this year, we're looking at around about 35 to 45,000. And we do use the income of the rental to offset some of that, but it doesn't cover it all.
And do you guys project how you might do in this year, knowing that, like you said, you have some space left for the weekends and that? How do you anticipate getting to that, or sorry, where do you anticipate landing towards that goal?
It actually becomes part of our overall agency fundraising target. So we have WestJet events, we have a golf event that we had in Parksville recently. We have a really fun family event coming up in Nanaimo that people will be invited to, and really just the ongoing applications that we make to foundations for funding towards programs.
Okay, great. I think that was my main question there. Wanted to go over, but yeah, thanks again, and I look forward to seeing it progress.
If I may just make a comment to writing on Councillor Frazz's question, your 45,000 fundraising goal, is that strictly for your Parksville operation, or is that for, okay.
Strictly Parksville,
Yeah,
yes.
I thought I heard you saying Nanaimo in there too, so strictly Parksville, that's what you're going for.
Yes,
Good.
our overall agency is considerably higher.
Yeah, I was trying to do the math and I thought you're missing a zero. Thank you so much, Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, thank you for your presentation. I just want to bring one question to you. This is Parksville Community Center. That's how the building is labeled, as you probably see. And you're probably aware, a section of the community feels that they are not able to access the community center as much as they would like to. So I'm happy to see that some of the timings that you mentioned, it's available to rent and for the community to use. However, you mentioned it's not being as much utilized as you would like it to be. What are some of the things that you're planning on doing to promote this as being available to the community? And also, I can speak for myself because I tried as soon as I was elected in November to have a tour of your facility. And for some reason, I haven't heard back when I can come see your big hall for rental for arts group that's interested in looking at as a possible venue to rent. So if you could just touch on that, please.
Sure. All right. Well, I welcome everyone to come in and visit us. We are working hard to keep our doors open during the day as much as possible, but we do have it as a daycare center first. Currently, there are no days available of the week between the RDN and their bookings as well as the others that were listed. So there is community members in there playing pickleball, as well as doing lots of aerobic activities, the chef programs, the schools. So where we're looking to increase our rentals is really on the weekends. We do just have a new rental with a worship group that will be weekly in there on Sundays. So our availability changes throughout. We also have some ongoing events that are annual. And we want to make sure that we include those in our planning. I apologize if you have not been contacted for a tour. I will follow up as always. I am available as well. If that's something, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Our operations person is in transition currently. And so that might be one of the reasons that maybe it wasn't connected properly. But going forward, it should be that if an email comes in through our operations person to rent our facility, that is answered as quick as possible. And as always, we do have an on-site administration team that can take any phone calls throughout business hours. If you need, if you're finding that you're not making that connection, please connect with them and they will ensure that the information comes to the proper person immediately. You're welcome.
Councillor Beil. Oh, Councillor Beil. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you through the mayor to our visitors today. Thank you for coming and thank you for your presentation. I'm curious, I understand that the main issues you touched on are the staffing and especially shortage of ECEs, which is felt in other areas as well. I'm curious to know about a waiting list. Do you have a waiting list for these different age groups? I guess in particular the under 36 months, but also if you could share what is your waiting list like for your school age opening availabilities?
Absolutely. I can speak a bit on that one. So currently, as we know in this community, the under 36 month care is in demand. I can say, I believe at this point, there's over 40 children on our wait list for under 36 months. We only have 12 spaces. So with VHUD childcare licensing, there are ratios we must maintain and staffing qualifications that must be met in order to open to the capacity of 12 children. One of those is that we need a qualified infant toddler teacher for every hour we are open, available and on the floor. In order to maintain our hours, that means we need 2 or at least 1.5 to stay open our full day. That is why we actually adapted our programs to meet licensing, and you'll see that there are 29 children of that age above, is because we've combined classrooms and found a way to provide more care for the community instead of close that classroom. We are looking to grow it, and as soon as we get more qualified staff as an infant toddler, that room will open to 12. The wait list is immense, and it will not be fulfilled in the time that we have. As those children age into the next program, we would then bring them into our center. So as always, we hope other people in the community will be able to provide more care as well, because this community needs that infant care. In terms of out of school care, we also have a wait list. We have capped our capacity at 23 right now because of staffing. Again, bringing in qualified staff and allowing us to fill not only the program, but also to meet licensing regulations for ratios. Currently, we do have a wait list. We are looking at expanding to other schools. And so right now we only service Springwood and Oceanside, and that's to, again, within our limits of our programming and our drivers especially. We are fortunate that we've had a couple of very key staff members come on and take on those responsibilities. And so in the future, we will be able to fill both buses once we get more qualified students and staff to come in and fill the other roles. If we open up to Nanoose and potentially Arrowview, that will again alleviate some of that wait list. I believe right now we have, I want to say, between 25 and 30 people on our wait list for out of school care. And most, if not all, are from Nanoose Bay and Arrowsmith, as well as some even up to Qualicum. So the need is definitely there.
Yes, thank you. Through the mayor to Alex. I'm not sure if I totally understood that. When you say opening up to other schools, are you considering offering programming in the schools? Is that what you're saying? Because I just, it sounded like you've got 25 to 30 on a wait list. So, and they're mostly from the new, so is it around the busing and people who can operate the buses? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so just with our schools, in order to we provide transportation to the programs in the morning, like to the schools from our building to a school in the morning, as well as from the school to the center after school. And in order to do that, we need to ensure that we have those bus drivers in place. And as we know, bus drivers there's also a shortage of bus drivers in our community. The school district is also feeling that. We are very fortunate that we now have 2 qualified drivers on our team. But again, within limits, we need to ensure that that's available daily. So making sure that we can provide transportation to multiple schools and be there within a time. There are times set by VHUD childcare licensing that we must be there. So even if we did a large bus route, like currently the school district does here, that does not meet the recommendations for licensing. We must be there within a time. So there are a lot of moving pieces to ensure that we get to schools, that our kids are taken care of, that when the bell rings, someone is waiting for them. And we just need to ensure that we can meet those requirements before we move forward and open up to more spaces. The second piece to that is that while we have these people in driving positions, we don't have enough lower, just frontline staff to meet ratios. So.
Thank you. And Councillor Grant. Councillor Grenz, did you have a question? Go ahead, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to our delegation. Thank you for your presentation today. I know this is a topic of interest to many of the people on council to get an update on the programming at Boys and Girls Club, and they're next door to us in the community center. I would like to say that for me personally, walking through the parking lot past the happy sounds of children is something I love to hear as I go to various meetings at the City Hall. And so it's always fun for me to hear those sounds of children playing. Could you maybe speak a little bit to what you're seeing on the ground in terms of the demographics in our community as they change and more young families perhaps moving to the area? And are you seeing any trends from sort of circumstantial trends on your side from that?
Yeah, the one slide that we skipped that I was going to maybe touch on is where we've been able to build our community partners. So currently, one of the trends that we're seeing is that families are very happy to have access to referrals to other community programs, specifically sources. So we do put referrals in for children and families in need to sources to provide additional support for those families. And we do have quite a few families that are accessing support through our referrals. And we're working closely with the team at sources there. So that's lovely. Our youth groups are also in partnership with the SOS, and they've been in communication constantly to ensure that we're not overlapping services, that our services are offered on different days than what the SOS, to allow the teens and the youth in this community to access services every day of the week. And then lastly, we're very fortunate to have a partnership with the Deaf Society. We currently have children who speak through using ASL in our programs, and we have an interpreter in our programs every single day working with those children. And the whole center has really embraced it. It's a lovely piece to have. So yes, there are lots of trends. The trend is that the need is there, and that, our families need, they need support. And so we're very fortunate to have enough educators within our programs to offer what we can at this point.
Councillor Grez, are you okay, or do you need a follow-up?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you.
Got it. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you both for your presentation. And I also, when I come by there, really appreciate the sounds like Councillor Grad said, because it's special for those children to have that place. I was wanting to ask you, this education, early childhood education, are your staff able to take advantage of that, or is there more staff going to be able to come because of that? Is there any more funds for that from the ministry available to you?
It's an ongoing challenge on a number of levels. There is a lot of funding coming out from the province to help students graduate. But what we're finding, especially on the island, is they come to BIU or NIC, they graduate, and they go back to the province that they came from. So it's really hard because of the cost of living to actually keep them here on the island. That's why we've chosen to try and support them internally by providing the training, because they're already staff members for us. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, I was just thinking there. And I have to stop to think. Just if I can have a quick question. Thank you, Councillor Mark. Regarding your kitchen facilities, you had mentioned that you're pretty well booked out during the daytime. And that's for your main booking area, the gym area and so forth. You also, I'm familiar with the facilities next door. Is the kitchen chef program operating in that? And I know School District 69 have one for another. So are there still spaces in the day if there are other cooking style events? They could actually book into that space when these other ones aren't using it? Do you have availability there?
We do in most evenings. I believe North Island College is using one a little bit of a later time block. And then I believe there's one day of the week. So both School District 69 and then the North Island College is using 2 days a week in the kitchen. And then there would be the other day of the week as well as the weekend that is available should a program feel or someone request
Thank you. So just a commercial for all those listening out there. There are spaces available for the kitchen. So if you're thinking about doing it, contact BGC.
And if we have a party at the weekend, or a graduation, or a wedding. Absolutely.
Let's make this a proper commercial. So for special events, for birthdays and weddings and anniversaries and all the rest of it, I think it would be in your best interest, everyone out there, to contact BGC, because they have really great facilities and they know what they're doing. The other question I had is, there's some question at one time, one of the groups was looking for the main room do you have sufficient chairs, or do you just use the local rental authority anyways to get your chairs from?
We are very happy to announce through your support and our building, we are able to now host events up to 300. So we have enough chairs, tables on site for rentals for events up to 300 now, which is lovely.
Thanks for taking advantage of that opportunity to address that. Great, thank you. That's good for me. Councillor Beil, you had a follow-up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the mayor to our delegation today or presentation. I was just curious, going back to a little bit that you were reaching out to or thinking about reaching out to Nanoose and Arrowview, I believe you said. So I take it that's where more of the wait list is in the Nanoose area and so on. Did I get that correctly? I think.
I would say it's about 50-50. So currently there's about 50% of our wait list is from Springwood and Oceanside. Some is for September. There's a lot of families that are going to access our care in September.
Right.
They are not, willing or able at this time. Their children might be too young to access our out of school care programs, but they are on our wait list for September.
Okay.
And then we also have about that 50% that is from other schools within the community that are looking for care that we just aren't servicing at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because one thing, just thinking about Arrowview, I know that Karen Love is part of the ELCO group, the Early Learning Childcare in Oceanside, and I'm a liaison to that group. So I also attend those Zoom meetings. And Into the Woods, which is being set up in Qualicum, will be opening May 1st. So I don't know if that's going to impact what your operations and I don't know if parents may have their names on multiple waiting lists. Also, I understand that effective in the fairly near future, school districts will in fact be responsible for a certain amount of childcare. I'm not totally sure. Yes, there is something along those lines, and I don't recall the actual details. So I'm sure you're keeping track of all of that, but are you factoring that in some way in terms of thinking about how that waiting list might be growing or subsiding? I was originally under the impression that you were drawing on the Parksville area for the operations here.
We've created a really strong relationship with SD 69 right now. We know that if the provincial government gives school districts funding, they decide if they have to include childcare. One thing we've noticed about SD 69 is they do a very good job of doing their own in-house childcare, but they're also very keen to partner with not-for-profits to allow us to then operate within their services, within their schools. We do that with SD 69, 71, and 68 as well.
And one thing I wanted to add is currently Springwood doesn't have an internal out of school care program. So we have been, working together with Springwood and the staff, the principal there, to make sure that we take on part of that role. And so we want to ensure that Springwood, especially, because the other schools do have access to some out of school care, it may not be, as much as needed, but some that we are providing Springwood with an opportunity to be a base. Fill a bus is what I would say. So make sure that they have access at the same level as other programs.
Thank you for that. And Councillor Gore, yes? Or no, you good? Okay, well, I think that's, okay, what Councillor Grens is clear as well. Thank you so much for your presentation. That's great. You've come a long ways, and I know you had to go through a lot of, startup pains, and that's very difficult. You seem to be navigating these waters very well now. And I look forward to seeing even more smiley, happy kids, out there.
I do appreciate that you've given us extra time. So we really do appreciate your support and the support we've had since the day we opened.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, take care. Council, we have one piece of correspondence on the agenda today from Ballenas Secondary School Grad Parent Co-Chairs, financial support for 2023 dry grad celebration. I'm just checking first to make sure, is there any delegations from Ballenas dry grad here today? Thank you. Then we're receiving correspondence as stated. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation that the correspondence from Kay Liddell and Kay Kello, grad parent co-chairs, dated February 7th, 2023, regarding a request for financial support for the 2023 Ballenas Secondary Prom dry grad celebration be received, And part two, that consideration of the request for financial support for the Ballenas Secondary School Prom Dry Grad celebration be deferred to budget deliberations. Do I have a mover seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Fraz. Any discussion? Councillor Fraz.
Thank you to council, through the mayor. Just a couple of comments I want to make on this. Recognizing that they're putting forward this request has two parts to it. One for the waiving the rental fee of the facility, and the second looking for a financial contribution. Two comments I want to make is, one of them, I think these kind of requests for financial contributions are great to go through both our grant application or grant and aid that we also are going to be talking about later on. But as well recognizing that the grads have passed who have also accessed the RDN grant programs as well. So I think it would be good to see some kind of their financial information or where their asks are all going out in the community, so we can have a good perspective of that. The other comment too, just regarding the rental fee facility. I don't believe there is such thing as just waiving fees. It's somebody's got to pick up that tab. It happens one way or another, either through us or either through the providers or the people renting the facility. So I think it's just being cautious that we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul if we do start to go down that kind of a path. But the budget probably is a good time to be talking about it, because there is a little bit of time before they have their graduation ceremony. So.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Fraz. Councillor Beil.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a comment that when I read through their correspondence, I noted that regarding their requests or their desire to host a parade again, which I know people have really enjoyed in the past, that again, they made a comment about the huge jump in terms of fees, I think to do with traffic control. And that was the same comment that we heard from the Chamber of Commerce, that charge doubled for the Chamber of Commerce planning to do their the Canada Day parade, even though it's been done every year on the same route. So it's just an observation that others are feeling that, and I really don't know for sure what's behind that big jump, but cost of living, I suppose.
Yes, no, I can actually answer that partly, Councillor Beil. The reasons that the jump is to do with the fact that getting the permits and the necessary safety standards in place is the biggest hangup is where the parade route is. In this particular case, as I understand it from the background correspondence, it was going to be from Ballenas School down to our BGC Community Center. The problem is it crosses Port Alberni Highway, the Alberni Highway, and that's a very difficult ask to do safely, because as it was explained to me, and I can give you background on this, and I'm sure they're listening, is for the November 11th Remembrance Day facility parade, we had to decline the request for the Legion to march from the Legion to our cenotaph. And the reason was, as explained by Staff Sergeant DeCoyne, is that crossing a major highway involves all sorts of standards, giving notice, having proper control, because you're actually crossing a highway. And it gets very expensive to get all the people in place to actually make that happen. So that's why the costs are so high. And so when I asked if there's anybody in the delegation or in the forum here today for a delegation, I was going to ask specifically if they're really struck on only that parade route. Would another parade route that actually happened within the city maybe be possible? I know it's nice to go from Ballenas through, but they are crossing a highway. And that is the biggest cost factor, as explained to me by the people that are in charge that would have to shut that down. So I think we need to have a further conversation with Ballenas, the grad committee, to see if there's any chance to that parking or that parade route being changed. Carry on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that detail for general information. And I guess it was mostly just a comment and observation that despite the fact that it's the same route, perhaps in this, but for instance, with the Legion, the highway was always crossed before, but those prices to do the cost to do the very same thing has, well, skyrocketed in some people's opinion and perhaps not in others. So it's just an observation, and I don't know exactly why the cost for the same service. But maybe there are greater regulations now. I really don't know that.
And that is exactly it. The regulations that perhaps were already there are now being enforced. And it's affected many groups. I can tell you from the car club perspective as well. They've had to do exactly the same thing. So it's been a huge cost for them also. So it's difficult for us to waive it for one group and not for other groups to pick up those traffic charges. So I'm just putting it out there. It's an ask, but it's quite a substantial ask. So that's great. Do we have, I think we moved, no, we're into discussion now. Sorry, Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is this a tradition in the past before the pandemic that the city paid for graduations in any way? Help support graduations at a high school?
I think Councillor Fraz and Councillor Beil might be able to further comment. I believe that we have, they participated in the spring and fall grant opportunities.
For
and
grants.
They requested it in advance of their ceremonies too. I believe that we've actually had them on. Councillor Fraz, can you elaborate? Do you remember on that?
Yeah, and they had been recipients of the RDN grants as much as last year even.
So,
Right.
okay. So it wasn't like we were covering the cost of the police or anything like that. No.
To my knowledge, this is the first time that we've had them ask for assistance for traffic control. In the past, it's usually just been for the grad or dry grad ceremonies, and they put it into the kitty, I guess, whatever it takes to achieve success of the event.
I'd like to put something out here, just so people know what has been done in the past. When our daughter graduated from in Victoria, they had, for the whole city of Victoria, all the children went on the ship. And how we raised the funds was we, as parents, gave our receipts. We didn't have computers in those days like we do now, to thrifties. And that covered the cost of those ships. It was hundreds of children. It was a fabulous event. And no parent was asked for money for that. It was, I'll never forget it. I thought that was an amazing thing. And, you know, there's all sorts of asks, as you know, but there's lots can be done. We have GoFundMe pages now, which we never had then. We have computers, but it was all done through Thrifty Foods in Victoria for all the grads in Victoria. Go on a ship all night, you know, it's fabulous. So I'm just wanting to share these ideas that this, you know, something can be done for sure. But
I think in fairness to the Ballenas graduation Parents Association here, they have in the background information advised that they have done an awful lot of fundraising of their own. I'm not sure to what that entailed. It wasn't detailed, but their budget was considerably higher, and they have advised that they have done. I don't know. I mean, you might want to reach out to them and ask if they've considered the following, but they have done an awful lot of fundraising. To what end? I don't know. Any other further comment? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Martin, Councillor Martin, I thought your hand kind of wavering. Yeah, no, I'll just back up a little here. Councillor Martin, it was just in favor. We were discussing that receiving the correspondence was part one. And number two, that consideration of the request be deferred to budget deliberations. Okay, for clarification, that's fine. I'll call the question again. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. For reports, we now have Mr. Russell, Director of Community Planning and Building. Could you please give us the background on the issue regarding consideration of a development permit at 180 Jensen Avenue East, considering the issuance of a development permit? Thank you, Mr. Russell.
Certainly, if I may, Mayor. So for council consideration is the issuance of a development permit to facilitate the installation of a fence, a pedestrian gate, additional parking, and associated landscaping at the existing Berwick facility. The gates are intended and the fencing is intended to improve security on the site. The additional parking is to augment the existing 108 underground spaces to provide parking to meet the demands of the residents on the site. And the recommendations are per the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? That the report from the Director of Community Planning and Building dated February 28th, 2023, entitled Consideration of a Development Permit at 180 Jensen Avenue East to facilitate a fence and gate, additional parking and associated landscaping, file 360 PDP 138 be received. Part 2, the development permit number 23 PDP 138 be issued to the owners of 180 Jensen Avenue East to facilitate a fence, pedestrian gate, additional parking, and associated landscaping. Have a mover seconder for that. Councillor Wood moved, passed, seconded by Councillor Fraz. Any discussion? Councillor Fraz?
And thank you through the mayor to our director of planning. For these additional 50 surface parking spaces, what would they be, which space would be taking them that, you know, what are they, what's the word for this? Replacing, what was going to be there? Is just landscaping or like where are they finding the space for 50 additional parking spaces?
So if I may, through the mayor, through to Councillor Fraz, 17 of the spaces are along the entranceway off of Corfield that basically would parallel the entryway. The other spaces are essentially opposite spaces that were authorized under the original development permit, and those spaces already exist there today. And then heading sort of towards the south are some spaces that are gravel, compacted gravel spaces.
And just a comment to council then through the mayor, I think when then looking at additional parking spaces and these kind of developments too, I think one thing that we could also be looking at as well is the consideration for bicycle storages and recognizing that how popular e-bikes are now too. It's a lot more accessible. And I think facilities like this, you'll start seeing a lot more people wanting to engage in that. And I think parking and bicycle storage needs to kind of be considered together now as our active transportation plan too. So I know it's not being addressed in here, but I thought that a good opportunity to kind of raise that flag for us for future kind of parking considerations.
Any other comments from council? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I talked to Mr. Russell earlier about the kinds of surfaces for eco-friendly paving or whatever. And I would like to have it noted that we need to go trend towards that. He did mention that already a lot of it is paved, so it would have to match. But I think that we have to be more cognizant of this, whether it's more permeable or recycled or whatever it is kind of pavement for the future. Thank you.
And Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. Through Mayor to Mr. Russell. I have a question about, and again, first I want to start off with thanking Adam or Councillor Frass here. I think it's a good point that when you think of senior facility, it's independent living. We forget that they want to be active too. The active transportation, if we are moving towards that as a community, greenhouse gas emission reductions, I think it's very important. So if that can be encouraged to the applicant to include bicycle storage or e-scooter storage, I would like that personally. And also, yes, the permeability of the surfaces, like as this council, we have been advocating for, asking for in all those applications that come before us. I would really like to see if the applicant can move towards more of a permeable surface for these parking, and also the runoff, like some rain garden or like management of the storm water could be included in that. Are you aware if they have any plan for this application?
If I may, Chair, through to Councillor Gore, I think this is, well, first of all, 2/3 of this parking already exists. So 2/3 of it's constructed. Of that, about a third of it is already permeable. It's gravel. That is a permeable surface that allows for groundwater infiltration. I think it was my hunch is that they believe that they didn't need a development permit to build it, and that's probably why it exists from most people. This is a fairly minor kind of add-on to an existing fairly large facility. So because it's really just an add-on to an existing facility, in some ways it's sort of outside of the scope of those considerations. I believe when someone maybe develops the property to the south at some point in the future with a facility, when you're actually designing a building, you're looking at all the groundwater infiltration to facilitate that building. And that would be the kind of time and opportunity to look more holistically at the overall site drainage, rather than in this particular circumstance where there's just a small augmentation to the site.
Thank you. And my only comment on this is I applaud their efforts anyways to increase the parking on their own private land, because this overflow would have trickled out onto the city streets for the city parking in adjacent areas, putting a further strain on the somewhat lack of parking we have in the downtown area. So I applaud the fact that they will prevent that overflow from creeping out onto the streets where parking is at a premium, I understand. So thank you for that. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Oh, we have that we're already discussing. Here we go. So let's, Councillor Grenz, I didn't see any. Did anybody see Councillor Grenz have his hands up before I call the question? Okay, thank you, Councillor Grenz. Okay, I will call the question. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. We have another report now from Ms. Ross, Deputy Corporate Officer. Could you please give us the background on the issue regarding the 2023 spring grant and aid applications, financial grant and aid applications from community groups and organizations? Ross.
Thank you, Mayor O'Brien. Each year, the city administers an annual grant and aid program in accordance with policy number 3.26. The current annual budget allocated for this program is $5,000, with $2,500 allocated to each of two intakes, one in the spring with a March 1st application deadline, and one in the fall with a September 1st application deadline. In accordance with the policy, Council is expected to appoint a select committee to consider the applications and make recommendations to Council on the allocation of funding. And recommendations to that effect are as per the Council agenda, and I'm happy to answer any questions Council may have.
Any question for Ms. Ross about the spring grant and aid applications? Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any room for increasing the amount from 2,500?
If I may, through the chair to Councillor Gore, that would really be at Council's discretion. As far as I am aware, in the approved financial plan, the current amount is $5,000. Should Council wish to approve to increase that for future years, that would definitely be something that perhaps Council may wish to discuss during budget deliberations and provide staff with some direction at that time.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Grenz. Councillor Grenz, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a question through to staff. I noticed that a number of the applicants have asked for the full $2,500 amount. I'm curious as what the funding application form looks like in terms of how it would be that people coincidentally all ask for the full amount that's available in the budget.
Through the chair to Councillor Grenz, I'm more than happy to provide a copy of that. It is also available on our website. It's really up to the organizations that apply to request whatever funding amount they want. There are many organizations that have participated in the grant and aid program numerous occasions before, so they are likely aware of the $2,500 budget for each intake. that whether or not that impacts the amount they ask for, I obviously can't speak for those organizations. But that may factor into their request, of course. So.
As I understand it, Councillor Grants, from past experience, that many of the applicants will ask for the entire $2,500 amount in the hopes that nobody else applies that in that intake. So if there nobody else applies, there's a good chance that they're going to receive 2,500. But that's the comments in the past. I asked the same question. So.
Excellent strategy.
It could be. Any further questions for Ms. Ross? My light's off, sorry. We have a mover and a seconder already. Do we have any other questions for Ms. Ross? What she's, sorry. Oh, no.
I'm sorry, Mayor Brian, I'm actually not sure if there has been a mover or seconder. For this
Okay, well, let's
motion.
just do that again here. Let's have a mover and a seconder. This will be Councillor Beil is moving it and Councillor Fraz is seconding it. We've had the discussion now. We're all okay. No further questions or discussion at this point. Are you sure? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ross. However, at this particular time, if I may, as per the last item on the, and I apologize, I usually read them out, but I didn't. On the last opportunity for the recommendation, it says that the Grant and Aid Select Committee be comprised of the Deputy Corporate Officer and 2 councillors appointed by the Mayor. I would like to at this time make the appointment for the Grant and Aid Selection Committee to appoint Councillors Beil and Councillor Gore at this particular time for this intake. Let's put it to a vote. Could I have a seconder for that? Councillor Wood, let's just do it all right. Okay. Everyone, okay, it's been seconded by Councillor Wood. Yes.
Just excuse me, Mr. Mayor, but since it's an appointment, I believe that, you know, it's up to you.
Well,
So.
sure. Right.
That would be over to you, sir.
I was suggesting that you were trying to get out of this, that you didn't want to be included.
No, that's
Which I would have.
fine
I
regard.
would have found that hard to believe. Yes, I just want to make,
I'm happy to oblige, but
just
it's,
trying-
it's totally at your
Right.
pleasure.
just trying to make sure that all council agrees with my choice of appointments. But thanks for that. And I think I see smiles on everyone's face and they're okay with my appointments. Thank you so much. So let it be known that Councillor Beil and Councillor Gore will be the grant and aid application councillors in place for this committee. Thank you. We have a bylaw for final adoption. We have the Alternative Municipal Tax Collection Scheme Bylaw 2023, number 1583, to alter general tax collection scheme and penalty dates for unpaid taxes. For the recommendation that alternate municipal tax collection scheme bylaw 2023 number 1583 be considered, reconsidered, and finally adopted, signed by the mayor and corporate officer and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Wood, and a seconder, Councillor Gore. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. We're winding up pretty fast here. So we'll get to notice of motions. Is there any notices of motion for the next council meeting for March 20th? Councillor Beil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, I do have a notice of motion and I did send out a copy ahead of time, but especially through to Councillor Grens, you'll note that I have made a slight change in the notice of motion. And it is that whereas there is a need for additional supportive housing for unhoused people in our community, and whereas the temporary facility at 414 Island Highway West is under a compliance order to close effective March 31st, and whereas there is no additional longer-term or permanent facility available at present, council directs staff to, my apologies for the DEF, that shouldn't read like that. A, extend the term of the compliance order with BC Housing to maintain supportive housing services on site until appropriate permitting is in place and pending support from BC Housing. B, allow the property owner or their representatives an opportunity to apply for a temporary use permit for this property. And C, invite BC Housing representatives to meet with council to provide an update on plans for an alternate facility.
That is your notice as so read. Thank you for that. I'll have lots to say about that at the next meeting, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Liaison reports. We will now move into liaison reports, and in the interest of efficiency, I would ask the council members keep their updates concise, please. Councillor Martin, would you like to provide your liaison report?
Yes, for the DBDA, there is a new executive director, Teresa Cooper. She started on the 10th of February. She's outstanding, as a matter of fact. Teresa did their annual report. You've got a copy of it herself. She didn't need to outsource it, which saved a few dollars, obviously. There is 2 asks from them. One simple one, to add the email address of new business licenses applicants. So I'm going to go there myself and see, or talk to Kiva and see how that can be done, because the communication is really important when they have a new person that get a business license. And obviously Teresa would carry follow up. Also, they were quite wanted to emphasize to me that there was a parking study that was done in 2011, and there was no need for any more studies. They were very definite about that. And they would like someone like myself who's elected to make tough decisions. And they were really strong with that with me too. So, and tomorrow evening, the AGM, you've got invitations, all of you to go. And please reply if you haven't, if you would like to be there at the Beach Club at 6 o'clock. All councillors are invited to come and confirm their attendance. So that's that. And that was just last week. I had the meeting, and I have another one too.
Go ahead.
The Oceanside Task Force for Homelessness. We met last Wednesday with the cold weather a couple of weeks ago. It was suggested if there was a warming shelter, if you could look ahead so there wouldn't be a flurry to open one, because you can look ahead at the forecast weather. So that would be something liaison to monitor the weather, so that it was, because we had a cold spell there that was a bit of a flurry. But it would avoid the last minute rush. And that we've announced this before. I think in the province, the homelessness count is all over the place. It's all being done at different times, and ours is on the 26th of April, which has been done. So you already know that. That's it. Short and sweet.
Thank you. And I can just comment further on the request about someone to, I don't think they're actually asking for the liaison to monitor the weather.
No, no, not me.
But we could actually bring it, with already been brought to BC Housing's attention, that it would be effective if perhaps they enable the provider to actually monitor the weather and do the request from their end. BC Housing was looking at the opportunity to eliminate 3 or 4 unnecessary steps before they actually open that. So
Exactly.
BC Housing has been aware of that, and they're checking into the ability to make that happen.
Good.
Thank you for your report. I have no new business identified, or I should ask in case anybody didn't get their liaison reports or requests, or anybody else has a liaison report at this time that they want to do. Thank you. Was that a yes? I kind of left myself open on that, didn't I? Yeah. I should have been quicker.
Oh, that's
Councillor Beil.
great. You just weren't fast enough. I just thought I would share that although I'm not a liaison, I have been carrying very conscientiously. I've been carrying my my pager from the fire department. We had a recent strategy planning session, and the fire chief offered that we could take home a pager and experience what it is to be a volunteer firefighter and the calls in the night. And I'm looking at Councillor Frass because he knows this very well, and so does Councillor Wood. So I'm very appreciative that in the last 2 nights, the latest they got the call was actually only at 10 p.m. So that was pretty good. I'd wake up in the morning and think, thank heavens, nothing came through. So it's an experience. I am going to keep it a little longer. That's all I have to say.
Well, I hope you attended at 10 p.m. because I actually heard the sirens go by my house. So I hope that you attended that.
I think it was
Stayed out of
made
their way.
clear to me that I was to come down to the fire hall if there's actually a call for a fire, but these others were actually 2 out of 3 were in service of ambulance calls. And I don't think anybody wants a looky-loo, so I didn't show up at those. So I think I'm off the hook so far.
I commend you on your decision. Thank you. That's great. So any new business to be brought up that hasn't been identified so far? None? Can I get a mover and seconder for adjournment at this time? Councillor Wood moves. Councillor Granz seconds for adjournment. All those in favor? Unanimous. That is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for all those in attendance. And have a good day.